with sleep, I'm assuming that can also play a big factor into the way you're feeling. Also, your nutrition. Recently, over the last 2 years, I've done a lot with macronutrients, so tracking macros, and it's been wonderful, and I've learned so much through it. But even noticing energy levels increase when you're eating properly and you're fueling yourself the right way. But also, I imagine sleep plays into that as well. Would you agree?
Certainly. So a few things to keep in mind in general, but also especially if you're around 9 months postpartum. That's generally when you start to have significantly more hormonal output. FSH and LH are often peaking higher now. There's like less suppression of those hormones. And that can be slightly harder to sleep as those kind of come back online more and more. And a lot of it just depends on how you're sleeping. So if you wake up more, then that is going to affect your hormonal status, both as a male and as a female. The way that I think about nutrition is kind of similarly to males, but in just like a slightly different light. You still want to get adequate fat. So around 30% of your calories, I think, is a reasonable way to go. And then you don't want to eat too much late at night. Eating a little bit of carbohydrate is reasonable and okay. But an extreme diet, like it's probably not a great time for a ketogenic diet.
Right.
Probably not a great time for, if someone is a vegan, then they need to pay particular attention to their micronutrients. Because having children, as wonderful as it is, they do take a lot of nutrients from your body. So it might be a good time to get like either more of a nutrient panel or look into the nutrient content of your diet. It is still a grade A recommendation from the experts that every female between about 15 and 50 takes a prenatal vitamin. And most people are better off taking a capsule than a tablet because that's absorbed better.
Yeah. Okay.
So on sleep, I wear a Whoop watch, and so I've seen the Oura rings. I haven't seen. It seems like it's similar, but it has similar data and all that, and so sometimes, like last night, I got, I think 56%. I got enough like sleep, but it was like 56%, and my heart rate was fine and all this kind of stuff. I think it was from past nights that I was trying to catch up on sleep and all that. So it was more on like the recovery side. So I look at it because I work out at 6 a.m. and do some pretty intense workouts. And then if I do too intensive a workout, I'll need more sleep and it'll be hard to recover and all that. So I guess really is how much do you look at the rings and the Whoop watch? How accurate are those? And do you see a lot of benefits from them? Yeah,
I look at the HRV and I also look at the resting heart rate all the time. Yeah, I forgot to wear my Garmin yesterday because I would be interested to see what mine was the last couple nights as well.
Yeah.
But my 8 sleep is completely broken and has been for months. So I have not been very happy with that. I know that many of my friends promote 8 sleep, but my pod at least has not been great for me. But for all those devices that you mentioned, Oura, Whoop, I think there's a bunch of other ones, BioStrap, Ultrahuman Ring, and there's others that I'm missing. But almost all of them have very accurate HRV and resting heart rate data. And I use that a lot. You can't compare your HRV to a different person. So I think mine is usually 45.
What is HRV?
Heart rate variability is kind of like the variation within the beats.
Okay.
And in general, so for your genetic baseline, the higher the better. So let's say your baseline is 50. If it drops down to 19, then you're probably either getting sick or you have a very poor night of sleep or terrible recovery.
I see.
Resting heart rate, generally, that baseline can change. There's some genetic limits. I generally get down to 50, even if I'm very aerobically trained. I don't really go down to 40. Some people do. But if you notice that your resting heart rate jumps up by 5 or 10 points, and you notice that your heart rate variability drops, then that is extremely clinically actionable because you're either overtrained, having terrible sleep, drank alcohol, getting sick, one of those things, even if you kind of feel normal when you wake up like that.
Interesting. Yeah.
You mentioned the 10, 3, 2, 1. Is that what you said, rule? What is that? What's that whole rule? Because I don't think you went into that.
Yeah. So the 10-3-2-1-0 rule is 10 hours before sleep, no caffeine, 3 hours before, no vigorous exercise, 2 hours before, no large meals, 1 hour before, no bright blue light or full spectrum white light, and then 0 snooze in the morning, and ideally no variation in the time that you go to bed.
Okay.
So this is a general rule of thumb. It's impossible for me to follow this as well.
Yeah.
So, life kind of gets in the way, but you can reset your sleep. You jumpstart it, and, using low doses of melatonin receptor agonists or very low dose of melatonin, or using other things like magnesium threonate or inositol or L-theanine, I think is reasonable to take for 7 days. It's just like a wave pool. Your sleep rhythm, which is a nocturnal circadian rhythm. You also have diurnal circadian rhythms for cortisol, testosterone. Once you get about 7 days in, it works a lot better. Just like when you start up a wave pool, you're not going to have a huge wave, even though the machine is kind of spitting out the same amount of energy. It takes that resonance frequency to get going.
So for someone like myself who sleep has been running from me for the last, for sure, 9 months, probably before that, with 5 kids, and a 9-month-old who has been our worst sleeper by far. I mean, not even remotely. She's a terrible sleeper. What do you recommend? Because I think on average I might get 4 hours.
Yeah,
maybe,
I mean, not much.
Of sleep. So is there, if you could give me any advice on that, what would you say? Like maybe try to just go to bed at the same time. I think she watches me lay down, because as soon as I lay down, she wakes up no matter what time I try. But what would you recommend for someone in a state like myself where kind of surviving for sleep, but I don't feel tired during the day? I think my body feels like it's kind of adjusted to this very minimal sleep cycle that I'm in. But what would you recommend for that?
Yeah, great question. And I have a lot of empathy for that. With our third one, who is now just over a year, was also our worst sleeper and continues to be.
Yeah.
So, no matter what, there's not going to be perfect sleep. Right. But there are some good actionable things that can be done. One of them you kind of mentioned is just going to bed at a very early time. Okay. If there are nights that I might get home at 8 p.m., not often, but my wife might be asleep. Okay. And then if, some people will, this isn't a perfect rule, but in general, I think that the father often takes like the early morning shift, which I often do. So if it's 4 a.m., 5 a.m., whatnot, then a lot of times I kind of take that shift. If the baby can be happy with me soothing, which is, sometimes. And then a lot of times, Maddie, my wife, will take the early shift. Okay. With younger babies, not so much at 9 months, you can do a dream feed. So kind of like regardless of if they're fully breastfed or not, you can actually gently wake them up if they're a little bit arousable right when you go to bed, because some people can't go to bed at 8 p.m. They go to bed at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. Right. And then you purposely feed them then, even if they're not fully awake, to try to help them to sleep longer. And then also like full belly strategies help a lot. I could go on and on, but these are kind of just like the main couple. And then, there's a lot of other sleep training methods that you can do. There's no one perfect one, but I do like it if, 9 months or certainly past that, if they have a room where they can kind of have like the no bright lights, no sounds. If you have a really loud house, it's kind of difficult to choose if you like use a hatch that has like any sort of light or any sort of sound that comes from it. Yep. I try not to put it extremely close, just because some people think that the sound irritates the infants, and it's different for everyone. So I would like try it almost like an experiment for each different child. And then if they're sleeping in like bassinet or whatnot, that's still in the room, then obviously they're also going to be woken up by things like dogs as well. Right. So a lot of infants are very arousable.
Do you find it to be beneficial for me to try and make any sort of a sleep routine for myself? So even if it is going to bed at 11 and waking up at 6, and if I get if I get woken up in between there, it is what it is. But is that beneficial to have like a consistent bedtime and a consistent wake time?
Great question. Consistent bedtime is much more important than consistent wake time.
Okay.
And if you are particularly excited for something, including, like for a new child or whatnot, then even if you have very low amounts of sleep, often the quality is better.
Okay.
Kind of similar to an athlete, usually the night before an important game or event, match, the amount of sleep is very often less if you look at the data, but the quality is actually slightly better.
With more than 250 magazines nationwide, City Lifestyle is the leading city-based magazine network in the country. If you're looking for a chance to build your own business while having a team and framework you can rely on, City Lifestyle offers an opportunity worth exploring.